Well, welcome back, guys. It's actually been about 3 weeks since I've been out here to look at this, just between being super busy and then being sick for a while and then being out of town. But kind of forgotten where we were at. Apparently went through and cleaned out the rest of these details all the way down to the shell, all the way down to the surface, all the way back into this area. So I ended up having to go a little further than I originally expected, which means either the stripe is wider than I thought or the Centurion isn't quite as wide as I thought. But regardless, I also had to remove an awful lot more stripe, which, how much do you remove until it like stops being a stripe anymore? But really, I just need enough material to keep the relationship between the magwell, the flywheels, and the pusher and everything there, so we could probably even cut down a little bit more if we needed to, but why bother if we don't need to? But this is the fit I've got right now. And it actually tucks in pretty well. I think there's a little more trimming to do, especially around the magwell, I think. Just enough to pull it, even. So, what do we got? I'll say one thing that's been bothering me while I've been working on this is just the proportions of where the magwell is in relationship to where the jam door is. I feel like the jam door is too far back. I think in hindsight I should have left this area here a little longer and pushed the jam door forward a little bit more so it was more centered up right over, just with the kind of how it's fitting. And it's still going to be functional and work okay. It's just not, I don't know, I guess I should have been a little more conservative with my cuts initially, but having never done something of this magnitude as far as bringing something, shortening it, and cutting it into a bunch of little pieces and shortening it up that way. So, as I recall, we're holding off on this guy until we get more finalized here so we can center this up around better. Another thing that's been bugging me is just the relationship of the magazine well to the trigger and stuff like that. I'd like to move it forward a little bit. And do I have the pieces yeah. Thought came to mind, since we haven't glued these pieces together yet. What if we took a piece of this guy and keep this guy kind of in relationship here and then just pull the whole works forward? That would give me a little more room, in front of the grip for the magwell, so that when we put this in, that it's not, all crammed up on top. It, gives a little more room so we can build a mag release, and I'd like to build a mag release that's kind of integrated in here, so it's kind of, it looks a little more thought out instead of just being a stick that sticks out or a button or something like that. Maybe, I don't know. I have kind of an idea, but it's not really finalized in my head. I really kind of want to wait and see exactly what I have to deal with, so I don't get my hopes up on, oh, this is a cool idea, and then it doesn't work out because of just the way things fit together. So I also decided, since originally I considered cutting this part out and just stretching this to cover up, using this whole area where the barrel is. Where's the barrel? Barrel. In here, I'd considered, making a cut here and moving, basically widening this top part to cover the motors. And then I backtracked because I didn't want to add another seam since I have so many little pieces going on. But at this point, well, it's one more seam, especially if I stretch this a little bit, why the heck not? Because I'd also kicked around the idea of building a box here, but it's like, I like having this shape. I like kind of the details. I think I might go ahead, well, let's see. Need to keep this bit So we'd have to stretch the whole works through here. So if we're taking this guy to make this bit wider, we need something similar. We'd have to actually take this all the way down in order to keep the relationship of the whole fit where it goes into the barrel. So that might involve some scratch building, because I don't think we have any pieces lying around that match that same, it's a little more boxier, whereas some of the other portions of the Centurion are a little more curvaceous. So, well, that's ideal. I think, to me, the more important part, to me, aesthetically, would be to pull the magazine forward just a little bit, because I think that'll balance it out a little bit. Part of something that was kind of, bothering me when I was looking at it was it just seems like this whole area up here is way too short, and kind of, I don't know, malformed. Maybe it wouldn't be so bad, especially when you get the magazine well in there, and the barrel, and ended up, we're not going to do a underbarrel, as much as I kind of wanted to. I discussed it with the owner, and it looked a little cluttered, and just with how good the lines look of just the minimized, the shrunken Centurion with the existing barrel, we really didn't want to add anything really distracting. So I think what we're going to do is take, not this one, but one like it, of a Rapid Strike's stock piece, butt pad, and this is actually part for another project, but this just for the mocking up idea, and turning it into kind of a foregrip-ish kind of thing. It'll be cut down a ways, but just to kind of make the transition from the magazine well into this kind of complicated area that I'm running into, and then working up to the barrel. Kind of the way the Rapid Strike has that little area just in front of the magazine well, going up to the barrel. That's kind of like, hey, put your hand here, kind of unofficial foregrip area. But I think done right, cut in and shaped good, I think that could be kind of cool. So that's what the future's looking like. But so I'm thinking, how much further forward do I need? I don't need a whole lot of room, but I think just a little bit, and want to make sure that we don't lengthen it too far to where the jam door doesn't work anymore. So we have kind of a minimum length we can go. Now let's flip this over. Get out of here. Okay, so we got a fair amount of overhang right now. So if we push that forward about that far, wouldn't want to go any further than that. So we've got about almost a ½ inch, maybe. Yeah, we can almost take the same piece and just cut it in half, use it for both sides, just to use those lines. But I think just that little bit will help kind of the balance of the blaster, and that's really important. You hate to go through and do all this work and then have something that kind of looks a little awkward, or too long, too short, or awkward and poorly balanced. So I think the extra time it's going to take to integrate this little spacer part and do all the body work and make sure everything's straight and true, I think it's going to be worth it. I'm pretty happy with what the lines are looking like on this build. Let's see how this translates over. Got it here. It was right about there, as I recall. Get this guy centered up where he's supposed to be there, and then add this guy. How come you don't want to fit together? There you go. Right about there. That actually puts the mag release forward enough that I think we can get to it and integrate that. That'll give me more room to work. That'll also give me more room to integrate this magwell here. So I'm gonna have to disconnect this seam here, move this back. I'll have to build a filler of some sort up here, which isn't such a big deal because this is gonna be kind of this is gonna be all involved in that. Try to make sense of chaos and integrate things together area. So I'm not too concerned about how things are looking here, because that's going to be a mess no matter what. So I think we'll, yeah, what the heck, just make sure the edges on this are nice and true, and I'll just whack it down the middle, and we'll just run with that, I think, and disconnect this guy, which is just glued, so we'll take him off. We'll keep this guy. Back here. This guy will move up there. But I think it'll be worth it. I'm not regretting decisions yet. So I'll go make a cut here, and we'll kind of refit some things and. Not quite sure how to go about this. I want to stretch it, but apparently I already made some cuts, you know, kind of clearancing things in anticipation for working around the motors. So, what do we got? Still have to make clearance. Boy, I probably had a really good direction where I was going with this, but man, I really kind of lost track of what my frame of mind was at the time. But I think we can still run with this. Looks like we're pretty committed, and you can see I've already. There we go. You can see the notches that I cut out here. So it looks like I'm pretty committed to adding a box, you know, cutting this area out a little bit and building something. So maybe instead of stretching this, you know, forward and using this line, I'll just have to open it up and then just build something that kind of matches the same details and pull it forward a little bit. Which that's not a bad deal either. There's still a little room. I was hoping we could maintain this little detail in the magwell, but I think it's going to be too wide or too thick. I don't think we'll be able to fit the stripe inside, as I recall. Just do a quick double check. This guy was nestled down in there, nice. Yeah, still got just a little tiny bit to go where you can kind of see where the middle line isn't really matching up there. So I think I'll have to go ahead and just take. Well, that's going to change things, actually. Just hang on a second. Okay. If we're going to have to cut this line up into here and take out this whole area, that kind of simplifies things just a little bit. So this guy, we're figuring is going to be in this neighborhood. That's good, because I was afraid there for a minute if we move this forward, it's going to have to cut this area back in order to go around the strife magwell. Well, if we're going to be removing this whole area entirely, this whole bottom level, this gives us a cool little detail, a cool little step down and stuff like that we might be able to use to help blend things together. So this is kind of a blessing in disguise situation, which is always welcome. So, boy, it's tough picking up after leaving a project for a while. So we move the strife forward, and well, boy, this is going to complicate things a lot. So if we move the strife forward, how is that going to affect the trigger? So if we have the trigger kind of in there, it's forward. It's not matching up with the Centurion trigger quite as well. In fact, we're going to be losing a little bit of that. Well, that's better. Let's get things lined up first before we start making harsh decisions. So that guy's up there. Okay, so we've got a sizable portion Might look like it's going to be about that much lap over. And I'm definitely going to, when we finally get this cut made and get the trigger stuck to the top of the trigger, I'm going to build some bracing that comes back here, since now suddenly you have a lot more height. Then I'm going to build some support and take advantage of this big goofy thing back here to give it a little more support, so we're not stressing the trigger mechanism. So okay, we're still on track there. That's making me feel better. So now we just need to stretch the shell just a little bit. And just double checking again, where's my jam door? That's there. This guy's up here. Do a kind of a quick mock-up. Is that going to help kind of center things the way I want it to? So that's a little longer, and that's here. Yeah, okay, I think that'll work. I think that'll kind of help. And I still wish this was forward just a little bit, but not so bad that I'm going to break it loose and add pieces back here. Going to run with what we have there and just add this little bit, up here. Stretch things forward about, what was that, a ½ inch? And once we get to that point, we can really start looking at, well, we're going to be cutting this out, and this guy. Getting really close to start actually sticking the strife together, or sticking the strife into the Centurion. We got to get this side caught up with what's left of this half of the strife. So all the way off, all the way off, all the way off. The rest of that all the way off. A little more of that all the way off. So yeah, got some cutting to do here. Cutting to do here. And then we can start putting some stuff together again. So we'll do that and see how that goes